basically the Devas are conceived of as kind of like, you know, you could say, kind of, I guess the closest thing in the West would be archangels, you could say. Um, Except there's a difference, at least in conception, and that is that they're also described and conceived as the impulses of intelligence that are at the basis of manifest creation. So it's not like they're just angels hanging out in heaven. There's an aspect, there's sort of different dimensions to them. They are sort of finite beings, but their function is they're omnipresent, ubiquitous impulses of intelligence, divine intelligence, that are responsible for the, you know, the functioning of the universe at all levels, you know, from the atomic level to the macro, you know, cosmic level. And so they're very significant beings, and yet for the most part they're out of our view. We don't, you know, usually have much to do with the Devas or put much attention on them. And there is also a difference between the conception of the Devas and, you know, angels or archangels in the West, in that the Devas are also, because they're omnipresent, they're also within us and responsible for everything that has to do with our lives on all levels, you know, whether it's physical, subtle body, energetic body, the mental body, the emotional body, all of that, the Devas have their role in you know, in our existence and our experience and our functioning. And so the relationship that we develop with the Devas has many sort of dimensions to it. It's not just like getting the protections of angelic beings or even the blessings of angelic beings. It's also, you could say it that way, but then you have to also consider that it's the internal blessings as well, which means there's, if you look at the Vedas, a lot of talk of purification, of purifying, so that we can purify all the layers of our inner being to reflect that cosmic pure awareness that is the basis of our existence and also the basis of the existence of the Devas. There is something that can be produced in our nervous system that actually, like, there's a chemical value that can actually purify and feed the intelligence of the body. For one thing, you've heard about people who talk about there's an intelligence of the body. There is an intelligence, because obviously the body has an orderliness. It's incredibly complex, so many different systems, they all interact to produce this living being with a consciousness, you know? So it's clearly intelligent. Intelligence structures the whole thing. Now, what is that intelligence? It's the divine intelligence at the basis of all creation, but then also the sort of instrumentality of that, the sort of discrete instrumentality of that, are these like sparks of intelligence, which are the Devas. And so all the different Devas are involved in the functioning of the body. And those Devas are fed by the soma. They're enhanced by the soma, which will make our health better, our physical health better, our mental health better. It will give us more mental clarity. It will greatly deepen our meditation, because all those values are the expression of how well this whole multi-layered system is functioning. And that depends on how well that intelligence is being expressed, right? The divine intelligence at the foundation, and then the more discrete kind of, you could say, pieces of intelligence or parts of intelligence that are the Devas. Okay, so we're going to feed that intelligence, which is going to improve the functioning of our body. And you may have heard about the Panchakosha, so the 5 sheaths. So the physical layer of our existence is just one sheath. And then we have the pranamaya kosha, which is the energetic body, or the pranic body, you could say. And then there is the mental emotional body, manomaya kosha. And then what is it? Manomaya kosha, and then vijnanamaya kosha, and then anandamaya kosha. So those different layers of our being. And the devas are also responsible for that as well. So if we can feed the devas, all those layers of our being are going to be purified and optimized to their highest value of functioning. And so then that's the inner blessing. And the fulfillment of that is full consciousness, enlightenment. Okay, so that's the ultimate value of the blessings of the devas. Now the devas are also just as much a part of the external world, and as they are this internal world. And so if we're feeding the devas here within ourselves, we're feeding them everywhere. And so the devas will respond. And that's where the blessings come in. Okay. So it's a little different. You can see, hopefully, that it's, although I've said it's somewhat like archangels or whatever, it's a different concept, a whole different way of seeing it. That's the Vedic vision of this. An interesting comparison that came to mind. For a long time, I think I just took for granted the existence of birds. I know there are many people that just love birds, and that's fabulous. But I don't know, I've just always had my thing. I was very inner focused and stuff. I hardly even noticed birds, to be honest, for much of my life. And then in recent years, however, I've really grown to, love birds and enjoy them and watch them. And especially we have bird feeders and hummingbird feeders and all this, and it's really great. And of course, they serve a huge function in the ecosystem, different layers of the ecosystem. And so once you become aware of that, like now I can, if I think of the world without birds, how empty it would be. It would be so flat to walk outside and there's no birds flying around. There's no birds singing. I mean, it would be a really different world. And yet they're just one little tiny minuscule piece of this creation. But, what an amazing contribution they make to our experience of life, And like that, I was thinking the devas are kind of like that. We go through our lives and we're not really aware of that level of existence. And so we're, in fact, most people are completely oblivious to it. But when you start to open your awareness to the transcendent, then suddenly, in meditation, then suddenly something starts to creep in, some awareness of the devas start to creep in, and you may not even have a name for it. But some richness, like I've heard you, Moe, describe your meditation and the sweetness and the lusciousness of it and all of that. And what do you think that has to do with? That has to do with the devas, the soma, that some quality of feeling / intelligence that's, filling your whole being in the meditation. Like, where is that coming from? What is it? It's relating to the world of the devas, basically, to that. And the home of the devas is that pure consciousness. So once your awareness starts to open to the transcendent, just like that said, Richo Akshare Parame Yasmin Deva Adi Vishve Nashedahu, then you're aware of the very source of the Vedas and the source of these impulses of intelligence that are the devas. So let's see, and of that's very enriching. And likewise, just like the birds play some role in the ecosystems of the world, the devas play a huge role in our life. It's like almost like the bigger it is and the more important it is, the less we're aware of it. Like, what I mean? We don't pay any attention to the devas. We don't pay any attention to awareness. We just have awareness directed outward all the time. But we're not aware of awareness itself. And that's the foundation of our whole life. of every single thing we experience, feel, think, there couldn't be anything more important than consciousness. We're completely unaware of it, basically, for the most part, until we start meditating. So likewise, the Devas are just, they're just on that level of how important they are, and yet we ignore them. So we're really going to dive into this course, and I think you'll find it's going to change your perspective on life and greatly change the experience you have in meditation as well.
Would you say that they're responsible, or they have that part in the synchronicity of life where we think like, oh, how did that happen? Or, just
that's
that
right.
They cross time and space. So then we see the synchronicity flowing in our lives, and we're like, wow, that's a coincidence, or wow, that happened. But they're all divinely organized.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, because that agency, that level of agency is not apparent to us. So there's a kind of interconnectedness of everything. And that's the level they're at. They're ubiquitous. They're everywhere, omnipresent. So synchronicity is, kind of pulling together things that seem to be separate, for our benefit. And then there it is. And that's exactly the level of operation that the Devas, function at. So that's how you know that you're getting more in harmony with the Devas. Sometimes people have called the Devas by a different name. They've called them the laws of nature. Like in, it's a little more sterile, and more maybe acceptable to the Western, scientific based mind. But in any case, laws of nature, Devas, impulses of intelligence, whatever, that's when, as you become more in harmony with those, and particularly as you nourish those, because they are actually beings, they're going to watch out for you a lot more, and you're going to find more and more of that synchronicity happening in your life. And you're going to feel more and more blessed. You'll just feel, wow, I'm really blessed. And you'll feel so much, gratitude will get more and more as well. So that's the external value of this practice and this way of looking at life.